Exciting.
Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Thor Love and Thunder gave us what I think is the best MCU villain since Eric Killmonger, Gorr the God Butcher. When we meet Gorr, he is a dedicated father and a devout religious man. He prays to his god Rapu to show mercy on his daughter, though he is willing to sacrifice his own life to serve his god. After his daughter dies, he is seduced by the dark power of the Necro Sword and he takes on a new vow.
All gods will die.
And it's the Necro Sword that I want to talk about today. It's one of the biggest mysteries of Love and Thunder. Where did it come from? Who created it? And I think I got some answers for you, plus some theories on the long-term implications of the sword that connect to Thor the Dark World, Ragnarok, the Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision, and how all of this is going to lead to the next big bad villain that our heroes are going to face. So let's get started. First, let us review what we know about the Necro Sword. When Gorr finds the sword, it's in the possession of a recently deceased being who the gods have just slain. Notice this being is completely covered in darkness, like the black berserkers that Gorr summons throughout the movie. So it could be that if Gorr had had the sword for several years, then this darkness would have also covered his body as well. The sword appears to have an intelligence. We see it call out to Gorr in its very first scene. It whispers his name, and it shows him images of eternity, the bifrost. Basically, Gorr's evil plan in the movie was never his evil plan. This plan was created by the sword, and it seeks out hosts to help it complete its quest and kill all the gods. Think of the Necro Sword like the One Ring in The Lord of the Rings. The ring is evil, and it's embedded with the consciousness of the Dark Lord Sauron. But the ring is also parasitic. It drains the life of people who use it, corrupting them. And we also see this with Gorr. The sword puts these black veins in his body. His mouth is black and filled with fangs. And after the sword is gone, he immediately says, "I'm dying," because it has drained his life force. Now the One Ring was also trying to make its way to Sauron, just as the Necro Sword is trying to make its way to the center of the universe and kill all the gods. Now remember that Lord of the Rings metaphor because we're going to call back to it a little later on. No spoilers, I promise.
All right then, keep your secrets.
Man, I feel great today, even though last night, well, right, I over-celebrated. You know, normally when I drink, I have a rundown feeling the next day and I regret all of my life choices. And I mean like every time I drink. My body is terrible at breaking down alcohol. But last night I used a probiotic called ZBiotics. They're the sponsor of this video. I cannot believe how well this worked. ZBiotics is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol. See, it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that makes us feel rough after a night of drinking. When you drink, a toxic byproduct of alcohol builds up in your gut, and ZBiotic produces an enzyme to break down this product. This is the same enzyme that your liver uses, but ZBiotic brings it into your gut, a place that your liver can't access. Now, ZBiotics is great for the summertime because I have a lot of fun events planned, going on vacation, family parties, and now I can actually have a drink without feeling run down the next day. And it's very easy to use. You drink a bottle before your first drink of alcohol. Just like that. And as always, drink responsibly, pace yourself, get a good night's sleep. Then the next day, boom, you'll feel like you just ate one of the Oracle's cookies.
You'll feel right as rain.
So if you click the link in the description and use my code ScreenCrush, you'll get a 15% discount off your first order, and you save 20% when you subscribe. There's also a 100% money-back guarantee if you're not satisfied. Back to Thor. We also learned that the Necro Sword has been around since the dawn of time, and that it's been passed down for billions of years with the purpose of killing gods. Kind of like if Richard Dawkins embedded his essence into a weapon like Sauron did the One Ring. Hold on. Yes, that is the weirdest sentence I have ever spoken. So that's what we know about the sword. Very old, has an intelligence, corrupts people, and wants to kill gods. Now let's offer up some informed speculation to figure out why the sword wants to kill gods and who is actually behind all this madness. First, the sword has been around since the beginning of time. Well, time began at the Big Bang, and we happen to know a little thing or two about the Big Bang in the MCU.
Big Bang sends 6 elemental crystals hurtling across the virgin universe.
So the Infinity Stones have also been around since the dawn of time. They are the concentrations of 6 facets of the universe: mind, space, power, reality, soul, and time. So the Time Stone's origin actually marks the beginning of recordable, perceptible time in the universe. And the stones also protect reality from threats that we cannot even imagine. And we've also seen the stones endow certain beings with magical powers, like Carol Danvers, the Vision, Wanda, and Pietro, and maybe you could argue possibly other beings like Thor, Heimdall, and Agatha. So all of these stones and the sword were created at the dawn of time, at the source of the Big Bang. And the Big Bang was an explosion of energy that stretched outward for billions of years. And in the movie, we actually see this center of the universe. It's where eternity resides. The temple there is a physical construct that protects eternity, and eternity itself can only be reached with a bifrost. The bifrost is, of course, technology used by the Asgardians to travel across the universe, and I've theorized in the past that Odin created the bifrost using energy from the Space Stone. So think about it. He had the stone, invented the bifrost, then he conquered the 9 realms. Afterwards, he started to feel kind of bad. He banished Hela, so he stored the Tesseract on Earth in Norway, so he wouldn't be tempted to use it. Then in Thor 1, the bifrost is destroyed, and they make it seem like this is like permanent. Then Thor goes to Earth, collects the Tesseract for Odin, and boom, the bifrost is suddenly fixed, because they used the Tesseract to repair it. Anyways, it's appropriate that it takes the energy of the Space Stone, the bifrost, to bend space so you can re-enter the birthplace of the Space Stone, which would be the center of the universe. And this is the exact location that the Necro Sword would have also originated from, because it has existed, quote, since the dawn of time. So there is a reason that the Necro Sword knew about this place and about the heart of eternity. This place is the Necro Sword's home. It has struggled for billions of years to return to this spot. But what does it all mean, Basil? Well, there are a few clues in the temple. This construct to protect eternity has giant statues of important celestial beings. Let's run through who we see here. There is Aeon, one of the first sentient beings to emerge from the furnace of creation. He is the guardian of life throughout the universe and entrusts beings with the quantum bands to protect reality. We also see a Watcher. Now, the Watchers are a powerful race who observe events across all realities, but have a vow to never interfere no matter how bad they want to.
Oh, you're so close. The answer is right there.
The Watchers are the polar opposite of the other god statue we see, and that's the Celestials. We learned in the Eternals that the Celestials go around creating suns and galaxies, extending the life of the universe. To do this, they impregnate and destroy entire planets for the greater good. We also see Infinity. Now, in the comics, Infinity is like Eternity's other half. Eternity represents all that is in the universe, and Infinity represents infinite possibility, everything that the universe can become. But the most important figure in this hall is at the left hand of Eternity. The left hand is typically used to represent less than, or the evil side.
Time to walk the left-hand path.
Now, this is actually a medieval belief that's antiquated and totally unfair to my left-handed friends, but traditionally left is seen as like the opposition. And this is where we get the hooded skull figure. It's widely assumed that this is Death. In the comics, Death is a lady who is the embodiment of, well, death. Thanos is in love with her, and he snaps away half the universe just to impress her. But death is also essential in creating life. You know, antelopes eat the grass, lions eat the antelopes, the lions die, they become the grass circle, yada yada yada. The Celestials are created from the death of planets, etc. So death would be an essential part of this configuration. And we've actually seen representations of infinity, eternity, and death before, on Morag and the temple where Peter acquired the Power Stone. This relief sculpture depicts eternity, infinity, death, and entropy all racing to or guarding the Infinity Stones. This sculpture depicts a kind of balancing act between these forces, showing that the universe is upheld by their presence and that the stones are essential to their work of maintaining reality.
Wait, what's entropy?
So entropy is the scientific principle that eventually all things will fall apart if they don't have energy to maintain them. Without the energy of the sun, life on Earth would die. If you don't clean your house, it'll get dusty. This is what the Celestials were fighting against by making suns and planets.
I see.
And entropy, you'll notice, is not present in this temple, unless the Statue of Death is entropy. I think this is because entropy is the outlier among these beings. Entropy is the only one who does not contribute to the construction of the universe. Entropy only exists to cause destruction. Unlike Death, he does not create life. Quite the opposite. The Celestials spend their existence fighting entropy's destruction. I'm also wondering if these celestial beings in the temple are the MCU's version of the Elder Gods.
Elder gods. Now that sounds familiar.
Yes, because we heard about it here.
The first demon, Sir Thorn, carved his dark magic into this tomb.
In the Multiverse of Madness, we learned that Wanda is being manipulated by the Darkhold, and the Darkhold is transcribed from the Temple of Chthon. And Wanda is actually a being called the Scarlet Witch who is supposed to act as Chthon's gateway to Earth. This is also important because in WandaVision, we learned exactly what kind of magic Wanda practices.
This is chaos magic, Wanda.
That's right.
Chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos! Wanda, like the Joker, is an agent of chaos. And you know what another word for chaos is? Entropy. So I think that the missing elder god from the temple is Chthon, a being also known as Entropy. He is a being born at the beginning of time who actively seeks to destroy all life in the universe, so he would be all that remains. This means that he would be a being like Dormammu. In Doctor Strange, we learn that Dormammu is a being who exists in a dimension that's outside of time. This is why the concept of time confused the hell out of him.
Make this stop!
Set me free!
Because Dormammu is the only being in his universe, he's all there is, so he would have no way to measure time. The end goal of Chthon is to remake the universe in his image, for him to become all there is. It's even possible that Chthon comes from the Dark Dimension. I mean, who knows? So here's what I'm saying, kids. Take all your theory videos, cross off Mephisto, and write Chthon. He is the big bad villain of everything, and a threat that a team like the Midnight Suns will face.
But then how does this connect to the Necro Sword and Gorr the God Butcher?
Oh, in a lot of ways. But let's start by looking at the comics. In the books, the Elder Gods roamed the earth before any other beings. Chthon was the #1 big bad at the time, filling it up with demons and stuff, until one of the Elder Gods, Gaia, rebelled and had a son named Adam, who was also called the God Eater. Then Adam killed all the demons and banished Chthon from Earth. In the comics, Chthon attached himself to beings like the Scarlet Witch as a gateway to re-enter the world, kind of like he did in Multiverse of Madness. So what if we tweaked this origin story slightly for the MCU? Adam the God Eater becomes Gorr the God Butcher. But what if it isn't Gaia who's killing evil gods? It's Chthon who wants to kill the gods who are protecting the universe. And I mean, hell, maybe the Big Bang was actually created when all of these elder gods clashed and fought Chthon, and then banished him from reality. Just like in the comics, Chthon would have put part of his essence into objects like the Darkhold. The Necro Sword would be one of the many objects in this reality that has a piece of Chthon's consciousness.
Like a Horcrux in Harry Potter.
Exactly, and also like the One Ring. And when you step back, you can see the other servants of Chthon throughout the MCU. For instance, let's retcon Thor the Dark World a bit. The opening narration tells us,
"Long before the birth of light, there was darkness."
That's the darkness of entropy. And then Anthony Hopkins says that the Dark Elves want to return to that darkness. Now, I always thought this was a pretty stupid motivation. The Dark Elves are evil, so they want darkness. But what if they were actually servants of Chthon, the Lord of Entropy, the Lord of Darkness? The Dark Elves serve him, so they want to use the Reality Stone to remake the universe, to make it a place that's dark, without time, like the Dark Dimension. It's even possible that the Infinity Stones themselves were created by Chthon. Sauron created multiple rings that his one ring could control, and he tried to use those rings to overpower the elves and men and dwarves. Maybe by placing these concepts of the universe in stone form, Chthon made the universe vulnerable to attack, like the Ancient One says.
Without our chief weapon against the forces of darkness, our world would be overrun.
The Dark Elves also tried to use one of the stones, the Ether, to remake reality. We also see other beings using the stones for evil over and over again. The Red Skull, evil. Odin conquered the 9 realms, evil. Celestials kill planets, evil. Ronan kills planets. Thanos snaps away half of all life. Tony, Mind Stone, Ultron, evil. The stones are constantly usurped for evil purposes because they secretly serve the will of Chthon. If this is true, then Thanos actually did the universe a favor when he destroyed the stones. Now the concepts of mind, time, space, reality, power, and soul still exist, but they're in an ethereal form that life forms can't take control of.
You are not ready.
So look at Hela's Night Sword. She can create these dark shards, much like Gorr can create shadow creatures. I don't think Hela was born evil, but we see that she was a bad influence on her dad, and she pushed him to be even more ruthless. So he banished her, much like Chthon was banished. So maybe Hela's Night Sword is another aspect of Chthon, urging her to conquer and kill as many gods as possible.
But why does the Necro Sword want to kill gods?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? I think the sword wants to kill gods for 2 reasons. 1, they are the protectors of reality. 2, the gods that it actually wants to kill are the Elder Gods, the beings we see statues of in the temple who originally banished Chthon from reality. With them out of the way, Chthon could return and conquer the universe. But the Necro Sword is most similar to the ebony blade that we saw in the post-credits scene of the Eternals. Long story short, the ebony blade was carved by Merlin from a meteorite. But it's cursed. It brings out the worst in anyone who uses it and has corrupted Dane's ancestors for thousands of years. And that movie ended with Blade encountering Dane.
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
Implying that they're going to meet up in the next movie to fight some other evil. Now, the way the ebony blade oozes is very similar to the Necro Sword, and it also has this freaky one-ring whisper. So, Dane Whitman is likely going to become the hero of the Black Knight, like he is in the comics. And it's also likely that in the movie Blade, the 2 of them are going to team up to fight vampires. But if we're really looking at a future team-up movie, we could definitely see the magical heroes getting together and forming the Midnight Suns. This can include Moon Knight and Agatha Harkness. In fact, we made a video about the Midnight Suns and how that could happen that you should really check out. And the #1 big bad that the Midnight Suns are trying to face, Chthon/Mephisto/Entropy, whatever you want to call him. The one entity that can actually never be beaten, but we will always be fighting against. Oh, and by the way, all week long we have been telling you we had a big announcement coming today.
And it's my birthday.
It's your birthday?
It could be.
Well, it's not the announcement. And actually, we had some problems. A paint can got knocked over. I slipped on a banana peel. There were issues. And the announcement is now happening Monday.
Okay, what the
Sorry, but that's just what we think about the Necro Sword. Let us know your thoughts and comments down below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.